But we begin with President Trump beefing up the Navy as tensions mount in the Caribbean. Kevin Corke is live in the nation's capital with that new information. Good evening, Kevin.
Evening to you, my friend. The Coast Guard's pursuit of a third sanctioned oil tanker near Venezuela comes as the administration intensifies its pressure campaign on Nicolas Maduro, which, as you know, Jonathan, includes a sweeping blockade of the waters off his country's coast, targeting illicit oil shipments and so-called dark fleet vessels, with an administration official telling our Lucas Tomlinson today the U.S. Coast Guard is in active pursuit of a sanctioned dark fleet vessel that is part of Venezuela's illegal sanctions evasion. It is flying a false flag and under a judicial seizure order. Reuters main time is reporting tonight that another official says that tanker is operating under sanctions, though at last check had not yet been boarded. As for the president, well, tonight he is holding on to that warning to Mr. Maduro should he attempt to attack the U.S.
He can do whatever he wants. I mean, we have a massive armada formed, the biggest we've ever had. Whatever he wants to do, if he wants to do something, if he plays tough, it'll be the last time he's ever able to play tough.
Speaking of the president, announcing today that the U.S. will build Trump-class military vessels, new age battleships, inching the country closer to the construction of what the administration is advertising as its Golden Fleet. Delivery for said shipments will probably take around 2.5 years, Jonathan.
Kevin, great to see you as always. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
With me now, the Foreign Desk Editor-in-Chief, Lisa Daftari, and former Vice President Cheney's Deputy National Security Advisor, now Heritage Foundation Senior Research Fellow, Steve Yates. Thank you both for being here. I just want to introduce our viewers to some new video coming in to us right now. It's from the DOD. There has been another strike, you see it right there, on an alleged drug boat in the Eastern Pacific. The military announcing today what they called a lethal kinetic strike on a low-profile vessel, which, of course, is military speak for we blew up a small boat. Lisa, this is an ongoing campaign. It's an effective campaign, according to the president, who says drugs coming in are down something like 96.2%. Is it a worthwhile campaign?
You know, it's interesting because you see this campaign, as you put it, framed differently depending on what news outlet you're watching. But to break it down, what's happening here is episodic. That's what the Trump administration intends. They want to establish deterrence in the hemisphere. They're looking at the Venezuelan regime, Maduro, who is consolidating power. He's involved with terrorism. He's involved in shipping narcotics into our country and flooding all these drugs into our country and into our suburbs. And of course, getting away with it. So if we're going to do it, we can't be half pregnant about our foreign policy. This is a campaign that they have already unleashed. And the choice is ours. Are we going to maintain this maritime pressure on Venezuela right now, or kick the can down the road and deal with it with troops on the ground and deal with a major escalation of sorts further into the future?
And Steve, I think that's the big question here. What is the end game? We're seeing this targeting of alleged drug boats. We're seeing the seizure of oil tankers. Where do you think the president really wants this to go? Is regime change the ultimate goal here?
Well, the president has methodically increased pressure. He kind of does it layer upon layer. And if it leads to the pressure that convinces Maduro to leave or others push within Venezuela to do it, I doubt very much that there's an Iraq-style campaign in the works. But if all that's accomplished in this is to establish the simple idea that there are legal and illegal ways to operate in the waterways in our hemisphere, that's a major down payment to a change for the better in our quality of life. The narco-terrorist vessels are one set of those fleets, but the Chinese are operating in illegal fisheries off the coasts of a lot of these countries too. And so this is a significant deterrent message, not just to the Venezuelan fleet that's operating illegally, but to many others too.
Yeah, Lisa, do you think that it's an important point we were talking about just before we went on air, the deterrence message?
Right.
Does it work?
Absolutely, it works if it's done properly, just like sanctions.
So what is properly?
Properly means it's enforced. Properly means if this is the episodic campaign that we have launched, that we maintain it, that we maintain sanctions and we continue the pressure. You know, there's many ways to apply pressure and use many diplomatic tools. And the Trump administration pivots nicely to say, this is what we're dealing with. You will not put drugs in our country. We are not going to tolerate any sort of terrorism. We're not going to allow Maduro to completely consolidate power and to continue going on. So I think at this point, we continue to show them that we will escalate to the point where we feel comfortable and that the Trump administration will call the shots. So at this point, look, you know, they'll call it a blockade. They'll use all kinds of language to say that this is not legal. But what's really happening is that we are enforcing sanctions that have already legally been placed and sending a very clear message to Maduro and his regime.
And Steve, there's some hand-wringing among Democrats and maybe some Republicans as well about the legality or illegality of what is happening right now. Does that matter in the bigger picture? The president has said we don't need a declaration of war, for instance. We can just kill these people because they are threatening Americans. So where do you stand on the legality-illegality issue, Steve?
Well, constitutionally, the president is very, very well within his rights to give these kinds of orders. I support the idea of identifying these narco-terrorists as exactly that, terrorists. And I think for the hundreds of thousands of American families that have lost loved ones due to this deadly trade, I think this is a welcome move. It was important to secure the land border. It's just as important to secure the sea routes as well. And I think that this is a proper move. Anyone who's sort of saying otherwise, it's kind of hard for them to justify illegal movement of goods and people on the high seas under false flags any more than they were justifying illegal migration.
Lisa, is there any point at which we see U.S. troops on the ground in Venezuela, do you think?
That's not the long-term goal here. This is a much broader campaign. And I think, you know, we're not pushing for regime change, for example, but if it should lead to that, you know, right now we are very squarely focused on U.S. interests, and that is to establish deterrence, to bring safety and security to our southern border, to establish that deterrence, and to give the Maduro and Colombia, any other regime, the message, including China, Russia, Iran. They are all operating in the hemisphere, and I mean, it's sending a very clear message.
Steve, really briefly, I'll give you the last word. Boots on the ground at any point in Venezuela or no?
I doubt it very much, but the president has proven willing to use force decisively, more to strike hard and reset, not to invade, occupy, and rebuild.
Yep. Steve Yates, Lisa Daftari, great to have you both here with us this evening. Thank you so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.